Okay, what do we have this week? Ubisoft's earnings report delay revealed. Sony goes after fan-made servers for Concord. Hytale has a new owner. Nice. All that and more on this week's Old Man Rages at the News for 24th of November 2025. Before we dive into the news, if you like the content, hit the like and subscribe buttons and share the video. We're kicking off this week with Ubisoft in what could be described as the biggest display of incompetence this year. But first, some backstory. There was a rumor that someone is gonna buy out Ubisoft after they delayed their earnings report. But as with any and all rumors, eventually we learned what's really happening. And turns out, it was just accounting issues resulting in a delay of the earnings report. Not sure if it's better or worse than my guess of them announcing bankruptcy, but hey, you'll be the judge. They also breached the loan agreement after misstating sales. I'm at a loss for words at this point. The auditors found out that Ubisoft had improperly booked sales from a partnership as revenue under international financial reporting standards. Their review also required the French publisher to postpone recognizing some revenue tied to a deal signed in the second quarter of its 2026 fiscal year. The changes put Ubisoft in violation of loan agreements as of the 30th of September, which the company said it will address by early repayment of loans with an outstanding principal of about 286 million euros after a pending deal with Tencent. Not sure what their CFO Frederic Duguet is doing, but he sure isn't doing it right. That error didn't stop them from having skill issues though, and claiming that people are playing fewer games. They even had the balls to say that new games struggle to stand out. Alright. I guess games like Dispatch, Clear Obscure, Are We There Yet, Escape from Duck-Off, and other similar games are just an anomaly in their eyes. Oh, brother. Anyways, they believe that the traditional full price isn't selling as well, while live service, free-to-play games, and cloud streaming are the way to go. I'm not kidding. The full quote is, the traditional full game model of selling a single 50 or 60 euro game to a consumer as a one-time purchase continues to become less ubiquitous. With multiple game subscription services, long-running games as a service titles, free-to-play games, and cloud streaming of offerings, all providing new and attractive ways for consumers to access gaming content. Ugh, you can't make this shit up at this point. Yes, Ubisoft's representative said that, and I'm sure maybe it's happening on a small scale outside of the consumer's view, but for them to just believe that is a large-scale thing, this is pure copium at this point. My guess is people are just giving up on the slob that Ubisoft is pushing down people's throats, and that's why the whole thing was said in the first place. Moving on, the Take-Two CEO admitted that the gaming industry is moving towards PC, even though GTA 6 launch will be console first. The CEO, Strauss Zelnick, spoke to CNBC's Squawk Box show and explained that consoles aren't going anywhere anytime soon. But the industry is shifting towards PCs as the dominant platform for major releases. He said, I think it's moving towards PC and business is moving towards open rather than closed. But if you define console as a property, not the system, then the notion of a very rich game that you engage in for many hours to play on a big screen, that's never going away. Zelnick also said in an IGN interview, historically, Rockstar has started with some platforms and then historically moved to other platforms. Also adding that PC is more and more important for Take-Two as the market continues to favor the platform, and saying it wouldn't be surprised to see that trend continue. Moving on, Sony is cracking down on Concord's revival. The game is so bad that even Sony wants to keep it in the ground. Who would have thought? Sony removed YouTube videos using the DMC system, showing fan-made servers for Concord after fans of the game spent months rebuilding the game and reverse engineering its systems. The takedowns were issued by MarkScan, which is a company that sends out DMCA notices for its clients. One of the developers behind this project posted a short update on the Discord server saying, due to worrying legal action, we've decided to pause invites for the time being. Now, on one hand, I want to see the fan-made servers for Concord to continue existing, if nothing else just so we can point at the game and laugh how bad it was. But knowing it's fan-made servers, chances are the balancing is gonna be better. On the other hand, the other voice in my head screams, Sony, put the damn thing out of its misery. Moving on, the Corpse Party Tetralogy Pack could not release in the West because Nintendo said no. Exceed announced on their Twitter account that several of the games in the Tetralogy Pack do not comply with the Switch guidelines. This resulted in the cancellation of the release of the game for the Western side. But later on they did confirm that Corpse Party 2 will come to the West. One of the Twitter replies to let people know that the Japanese version does contain a translation to English, so you can buy that one or import it from Japan. At least the devs tried, despite Nintendo doing whatever it can to screw the game over. Moving on, it's official! Simon acquired Hytale from Riot Games. Not only that, but on their official website, they stated they rehired more than 30 developers who know the game inside and out. And to top it all off, they will be funding the game for the next 10 years. Yes, there won't be investors nor publishers. Simon did also mention on his Twitter account that Hytale isn't a polished AAA experience, but then again, that's rare even for AAA experiences. His plan is to get it out as soon as possible, even with its jank and rough edges. They even released a 16-minute gameplay footage showing off the game is pretty close to completion. However, as of right now, there's no release date. There is more, but it will take too long to cover, so if you want to read for yourself, feel free to do so. Links to everything will be in the sources. The most important thing is that Hytale's X account revealed the price, and it will be $19.99 USD. Simon also clarified on his own account saying, I'm pricing Hytale as aggressively low as possible. I'm taking on a considerable personal risk after repurchasing the game and getting it ready for early access for a growing team of now 50 talented individuals. I said I was all in, and I'm delivering on that promise. The game is unfinished and runs on a build from over 4 years ago. Charging more didn't feel right. That man is really dedicated to his project, on top of pricing what is potentially a limitless gameplay experience. $20 is a bargain if you ask me. There's no way to say it. There are more deals like being a supporter for $35 or getting the Founders Pack for $70. For now, they just said it will be cosmetics like capes, hats, and other things. If you ask me, what we have here is dedication and love for the community, combined with low costs for a game. That's a great way to win people over. Moving on, both Paradox Interactive and Colossal Order mutually decided to go their separate ways. Not only that, but Ice Flake Studios will take charge of City Skylines 2 development. On the forum post, they did confirm that City Skylines 2 will get free updates, continuous work on the editor and console editions, and future expansions and content packs. On top of that, Colossal Order did promise to implement a few more updates before leaving, like the bike patch, old town buildings, bug fixes, and general improvements to the game, including asset mods. Now, whether they implement it or not still remains to be seen, considering they still remain mixed on Steam. Only time will tell. In other news, Valve made an oopsie by accidentally ruining a game's sales again after apologizing for ruining it the first time. The short version is that Planet Centauri came out of early access in December 2024 and got 138,000 wishlists, but a problem with the wishlist system happened and people did not get notified about the game, making it impossible to reach the popular tab. Valve offered the game to be part of the daily deal on Steam as an apology, and the studio took Valve up on their offer. The studio picked the 12th of November as its release date, which made the game get overshadowed by the Steam Cube announcement, or as the internet collectively calls it, the Gabe Cube. Now for this part, take it with a grain of salt, because Laurent Lechat told Polygon in an email, the day was chosen more or less randomly on our end, and it's just bad luck and we must accept it. The game did sell 5,000 copies on that day, which is less than what the game got due to the glitch. The good news is that it's enough money for the studio to survive for at least another year and allow them to finish their second game. The developer did also mention he had a feeling that the game is cursed. Moving on, WhereWindsMeet managed to hit 2 million players combined on all platforms on its first week with very positive reviews, which is shocking for an Eddie's game. This was revealed on their Twitter account, where they also hit top 7 sellers and top 5 most played for Steam. For the PlayStation Store, they managed to hit top 3, which is impressive. Still, my real gripe with the game is the dehumanization of the character by giving it, instead of male and female options, the type swap of body 1 and 2. Is that a deal breaker? Not really. Is that a trace of poor localization? Probably. You can even see it's just a problem with the English version because the Chinese language uses male and female. Kinda makes me think whoever was hired for the localization should not be working on future content localization for the game. Now, on the bright side, you can see they're still retaining the momentum, because currently on Steam you have 249,485 players playing it, and it's still retaining its positive review of 82% with 35,000 reviews. Mind you, the players are at the point of recording, but it's still a good sign that it's retaining its player base. Now, will nitties ruin the game? I don't know, but it sure as hell can make them money, considering its cosmetic gacha system. So yeah, here's hoping they sort their shit out. Moving on, the devs behind the game Dispatch took a stance against AI. The creative director Nick Herman sat down with GameIndustry.biz to talk about Dispatch, and when they talked about Wright's performance, one of the voice actors, Herman, said, "No AI is going to do what he can." He brought something to that character that we weren't expecting. I mean, his performance and Aaron's performance and our whole caster bringing performances and elevating the material in a way that you're just not going to get with AI. You're not going to be surprised because it's built on something you've heard before if you go the AI route. So yeah, honestly, AI feels like a production solution, not a creative one. Maybe it's a creative one if you aren't creative. The man's got a point. The most you can get out of the current AI is just monotone reading, which would ruin any written character. They did mention they are looking at AI, saying how it's good enough, but that good enough isn't what they want. They also aren't gonna judge anyone else for using AI, but said right now it just doesn't make a ton of sense. Moving on, Woklamat's voice actor says Yoshi P apologized for the abuse she faced for playing the character in Final Fantasy XIV. This refers to last year when the actress Senna Breyer got death threats online following her portrayal of Woklamat in the game. When it began, she brought it to Square's attention and they assured her that Square Enix is on the case. A little bit later, she also met Yoshi P during this year's Anime Expo in LA, where she called him very kind. She said, "I did meet Yoshi P for the first time at Anime Expo. We arranged a meeting and he was like, I want to apologize on behalf of the team for what happened to you. He was very kind and we had a very kind little talk about it. I gave him a bead necklace someone made for me that is 8 feet long and said the entire 'Have you heard of the critically acclaimed MMO Final Fantasy XIV meme in its entirety?' He really didn't know what to do with it." She's also concerned about the potential lasting impact of the fallout from playing Wuklamats, saying, "I've heard people say things like, I don't know if I want to do voice acting because of what happened to Senna," and brought up how this happened to her in the early 2000s with Maddie Blaustein, who nearly got fired for being trans. This goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Sending hate or death threats to voice actors just because the character they are voicing was poorly written is never okay. I mean, I can go on how Wuklamats was poorly written and all, but all I'm gonna say is look up what happened story-wise with Yeda, or as she later was known as Lise, in Stormblood, and just remove the growing part. Moving on. Jess Scott got hired as the engineering director for Cyberpunk 2 at CD Projekt Red, who, fun fact, used to work at Insomniac Games, which made Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which Sweet Baby Inc. had a hand in making. It's not confirmed yet if Sweet Baby Inc. had an involvement with Cyberpunk 2, but it's not looking good with their previous activist hires. Not only that, but they hired someone else who previously worked on Halo and Concord. Now, it's not just another developer, it's the same artist that worked for Firewalk Studios. Yeah, my expectations for Cyberpunk 2 are currently digging a hole in the ground just to reach the bar I set for the game. And in other news, to no one's surprise, Claire Obscure is leading the Game Awards 2025 nominations. The game has 12 nominations for this year. This is the highest in the Game Awards history, which is followed closely by Death Stranding 2 with 8 nominations. Oh yeah, and somehow Ghost of Yode has 8 nominations as well. I can probably guess what the reason for the nominations is, but let's see what Jeff Keighley will announce as winners in the 8 categories that game is nominated in. Claire Obscure also managed to sweep the Golden Joystick Awards and picked up 7 gongs, one of them being the main prize. The chief executive and creative director of Sandfall Interactive thanked the voters and his team when collecting the top prize and said, "It's been an unbelievable year for us. We still don't really fathom everything that is going on." I can fathom what's going on. These guys cooked hard. Now, I still wonder why Polygon believes that Ghost of Yotei was snubbed from the Game of the Year award, considering their explanation is basically, hey, previous Sony games made it, meaning this one should too. But at least they realized that the competition was stacked against the game. At least they won the console game of the year, so maybe these journalists can be happy for now. Now, better question is, how Claire Obscure didn't win that award is beyond me, considering the game is also on consoles. Both Xbox and PlayStation, so there's no excuse. But who knows? My unhinged theory is that Games Radar, the publication that handles the voting, tried kissing up to Sucker Punch and or Sony with that award. But that's just my tinfoil hat theory. Take it with a grain of salt. And to wrap up the week, Black Ops 7's physical sales are down 61%. Even the article that talked about it mentioned how it fails to beat Battlefield 6. Talk about rubbing salt in Activision's wounds. This information came from the market research company JFK and specifically shared by the editor-in-chief Christopher Drink on X, who said Call of Duty Black Ops 7 had a smaller UK retail launch (brackets physical sales) than Battlefield 6 in brackets JFK data. Later then, replying to another person who asked for comparison with Black Ops 6 to be 61% decrease. The article also brought up that Black Ops 6 launched to over 306,000 concurrent players, but Black Ops 7 barely managed to crack the 100,000 mark since its launch. On top of that, they gave a small guide on how to refund the game on Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. Talk about easy dubs. They even brought up the poor Metacritic ratings because the Call of Duty Twitter account tried to do damage control. Talk about bringing receipts. Hell, these are the current results, and even half of the journalists aren't liking the game. This is also reflected on Eurogamer's side when they gave it a 3 out of 5. Still higher than our traders, but oh well, at least they rated it as highly as Concord. And another thing that I want to mention, because I kind of want to make a small comparison to our creators here. Eurogamer had issues with AI in our creators. However, even when it blatantly said that the game uses AI, it was never mentioned in the Black Ops 7 review. Sure, they showed a related article talking about the use of AI, but still that didn't detract from its rating because, well, you know, it's Eurogamer. Now, are they afraid of Microsoft ninjas coming to their office to say hi? Who knows? But anyways, that's not all for Black Ops 7's problems though. It's getting refunded by players due to its usage of AI. GameRant even mentions Steam being generous with the refund policy, even for players that put significant amount of time into Black Ops 7. Gaben is winning 90% of the time, and it's unbelievable that these companies do not learn from him. Alright, let's be real here, the guy needs to open a business school at this point. So many people in this industry will need it. You can even see Bricky tweeted about asking Valve to grant a refund after finishing the slop of a campaign that Black Ops 7 had. And the refund was granted. The specific reason was AI and how it wasn't present in marketing for the game. Can you believe it? And with that, this week is over. Again, if you liked the video, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you next time.